I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Here is what we will need: yarn, scissors, a darning needle, my crochet hook. I use the 6. And then we're gonna start out super simple, just do a little slip knot. All of this, if you Google them on YouTube, they'll come up with tutorials because I'm not the best at explaining. I like to take both of them so that you don't have to weave in all your ends later, and do both of them over until I run out of time. But you're just gonna do about 7 slip knots to start, which is what I just casted on there. And you're gonna leave 2 extra to make your edge look straighter in case you don't want to put a trim around it. It'll just look neater. As you see, I went into the 2nd slip knot. That's what we're gonna be doing almost the entire bonnet, so you'll get used to it. And then I'm just going along with double crochets all the way to the end. And at the end, you make sure you get every last stitch in, like I did. The last one looks a bit weird always, but it's definitely there and you definitely need it, or else you'll notice that instead of increasing, you'll be decreasing. It should look something like this. And then we're gonna go the 2 slip knots again. Again, you'll get used to it. And usually you'd crochet into the 2nd stitch, but I just went right in to the 1st stitch so that I can increase. You're gonna repeat this every single stitch. And here is me pointing out how hard it is to find that very last stitch that you need to go in, but it is still important that you go in that last stitch. And then it's time for our 2 slip knots and crocheting into the very first, not the 2nd, the first one. We're gonna continue doing this for as many rows as it takes for you to get around the middle of your horse, like kind of near their eyes, but not super close to their eyes. And you see, by going into that first one, I've already expanded by 2. And then we're gonna keep repeating that. By the time I got to around the middle of my horse's nose, this is what it looked like. As you see, I've expanded a lot by doing that. Now that we're kind of close to our eyes, we're gonna start expanding more. So this time I'm casting on 4 instead of just 2, and I'm gonna skip the first 2 and go into the 3rd one. And do a double crochet into that stitch. Then I'm going to take it and go into the very first stitch like you should have been doing the whole time leading up to this, and we're just going to continue on our row and do that at least 3 or 4 times depending on how big your horse is. I have a 13-hand pony with a cob-sized head, and I had to do it 3 rows. I'll demonstrate one more time what it looked like doing the bit of a longer one. As you see, I'm going into the 3rd stitch and pulling my yarn through, then finishing my double crochet, and then going right into that very first stitch. Now that it's just about touching her eye, I'm gonna start expanding a lot more so it goes past your ears quite quickly. In most tie-down bonnets, it'll be really tiny and then it'll spread out really wide, and that is what we are trying to replicate. This time I've done 5 slip knots. I'm gonna skip the first 2 and go into the third one, doing my double crochet into that third one, but now I have another one to go into because we casted on one more. So I'm gonna go into both of them before going into our first stitch. I would repeat this step until it reaches just past your horse's ears. And you want to stop before you need to go before the ears. So by reaching past their ears, I meant lengthwise, not how long it is. Here's what mine looks like. It looks a bit bumpy, but that's okay because I'm gonna be putting on an edge. Now we're gonna crochet 2 together to kind of create more of a bridge or a better opening for the end of your bonnet, because you don't want a huge square sticking out the end. So you're gonna do your regular crochet, but instead of casting on another time and going through, we're gonna go into the next stitch. And then you should have crocheted 2 together. If I didn't explain that well enough, you can go onto YouTube and just Google how to crochet 2 together, and that's how I learned it. Now we have to do just a touch of math. It's mainly just counting. You're gonna count how big you want your ears, how far away you want them from the edge of your bonnet, and then whatever is left in the middle. I already know what I'm doing, so here I am counting the ears, and then that's my middle space right there that I left open. Once you're at the base of where you want your ear to start, you're gonna finish your last crochet and then you're gonna start doing slip knots. I would do the amount of stitches that you left for the original ear place plus 5. You can also measure the ears to see how wide you need it and then figure out how many stitches you need. But I did it this way, which required less math. I would just go bigger rather than smaller. Then for your last stitch, you're gonna stick it in at the end of your ear where there's still a hole, and then you're gonna pull through the hole and then pull through both of those stitches. Then you'll continue double crocheting until your next ear. There should be quite a gap in between because there's a gap in between your horse's ears. Then you'll repeat the exact same steps as the last ear. And if you ride horses, you know what you do on one side, you have to do on the other. So we're gonna have to do a decrease. I would leave 3 stitches to do this decrease, and then you can do 1 slip knot. That should have left you with these 2 little holes with a gap in between. Then you're going to simply take your crochet hook, and I like to start with a single crochet, a double crochet, and then continue double crocheting. And you're just going to continue going into each stitch, even your little ones. So try and go into every single one so you don't end up decreasing. For this last row, we are going to do a triple crochet, and I'm going to explain that right now to you. You're going to set up as if you were doing a double crochet and then add one more loop around and then go and put it in, and then go through one loop, do another, through two loops, and do another pull through. Do this again, it's just wrapping 2 round, pull through, 2 round, pull through, 2, pull through. If this doesn't make sense, obviously you can go and look this up on YouTube. And you're just going to continue doing this triple crochet until the very end. We're doing these kind of shell things, so you'll start a single crochet to a double crochet in the same hole. After your double crochet, you'll go into the next stitch with a triple crochet. Then you'll do a double crochet into that same stitch where you did the triple crochet. After that, you'll do one single crochet and finish it off with a simple slip knot. It should look something like this. The slip knot is helpful in between because it creates a little bump so you can really see. Now you're just going to continue doing this down the whole row. At the end, you'll pull out your yarn a bit and then snip it off. Make sure to leave a good amount so that you can still weave in your ends without it being a struggle. Make sure not to pull too hard on the circle, but you're just gonna pull your fingers through the circle, grab the piece of yarn, and pull it through. Now it's time to grab your darning needle, and you're gonna take the string and pull it through and just tie a simple little knot because we're not gonna use it for long, so it doesn't need to be too strong. I like to spread the yarn with my fingers so I can find a nice row to put it through. You're going to put it through the bottom row of your frilly shell things and just pull it through all of those. And then when you're done, give it a little tug, and I like to stretch out the yarn a little more. We're going to go back because I have enough yarn to do so. If you don't have enough yarn, the one pull through should be good. And then at the end, I pull it through. And then I like to give it a little tug out and then cut it off. And I cut it off a little bit outside, and then I give the yarn a really nice stretch, and it should disappear. Okay, now it's time for the ears. We're going to start off with a simple slip knot. You can also start with a magic circle, but I like doing it this way better. You're going to create at least 5 or 6 slip knots. You don't want it to be too big because then there'll be a big hole in the top and your stuffing might fall through it. So I wouldn't do more than 6 unless you have really thick yarn. You're going to make it into a circle and then add 2. And then start with your double crochet, and you'll double crochet 2 into every hole that you made. The way I did it is I counted 4 regular double crochets, and then after that 4 into the 5th, I would do 2 double crochets to increase. With something like this, you don't want to make it the size of your horse's ears unless you're planning on making it go over the ears, because it will probably just flop over. So I made this about halfway down my horse's ears, maybe even less than that. Now we're going to start and do the little nibs, the little pieces that are sticking off the antlers. I don't know what they're called, they're just like tinier antlers. So you're going to start it exactly the same way, but instead of continuously increasing, you will just increase the first row and then continue doing that. Unless you want it to be bigger, then you can increase a couple more times going down. And it's morning, but I did some crocheting last night, and here's what I have. I have 3 nibs. You can also do more than that if you made your antlers bigger, or you just like the look of having more. I only made 3 because I think it looks better. Now it's time to do a lot of sewing, so grab your darning needle and we are gonna get straight to sewing. I like to pull my main antler piece over my fingers to stretch it out. Make sure after you were done each of your little projects that you left a lot of yarn. It's not a big deal if you didn't leave a lot. You can always tie on another piece, but I just think it looks better like this. We're gonna go ahead and pull through our yarn into our darning needle, and I did a double knot to make sure it was nice and secure, and then I just give it a little tug to make sure it's really secure. Also, don't forget to stuff your projects before you sew it on. I forgot this, but I just would like to remind you because it's a lot harder to get it once it's sewed than before. Anyhow, let's start sewing. So I'm going to take my darning needle and just shove it through wherever I want it on my antler. Now I'm just going to start sewing. I just kind of stick it through whatever holes I want to. Did it around 3 times because I left enough yarn to do that. You can sew however you want as long as it's nice and secure. Now, so that it stays secure, we're going to tie a little knot. I'm going to pull my yarn through to the back side where I can't see it, the inside of my antler, and then I will flip my antler inside out. And do a little knot. So I'll just pull this out and then I'll snip it a bit, and then we can tie a regular knot, or you can do the knot where you pull it through the thing. I think this regular knot is more secure, but you can do whatever knot you want to do as long as it is secure. And then you could have just left that because we are not going to see it. I decided to snip it off, and then you're just going to simply fold it back, and then it should be nice and secure. You're going to repeat this to all of your little nibs. Don't forget to do that filling before you put it and tie it on. Now that your bonnet's all done, make sure to dress your horse up super cute to match the bonnet like I did. I was riding bareback this day, but I still decided to put on a little saddle pad. And you're going to grab your cute little bonnet. Look how cute it is. Now it's time to just admire the cuteness of your little reindeer.